It was one of the happiest days of my life. Oh my gosh, I can't even describe it. So yeah, that's how I found out I got the scholarship. I definitely didn't think I was the most talented student.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to Tea Time with Letitia on Gratified Grad, where it's my goal to help you graduate with gratification. In today's video, I am drinking a homemade tea. As you can see, it is this lovely purple color. What tea do y'all think that is? I've had a part of this tea before. I'll give you a second to think about it. Well, it is hibiscus. That's what's giving it that lovely purple color. But I also put in some cardamom, some ginger, some peppercorn, and cloves. And so I have this mixture today because I had a little upset stomach and I was just feeling a little bit anxious. And hibiscus is good for mental health, and the ginger is good for stomach. And hibiscus also good for easing your stomach too. And like a whole extra side note about hibiscus, apparently it helps to regrow hair, or that's what some people say. Not too sure, but I guess maybe if I start drinking more hibiscus and my hair starts to grow, y'all will notice. So in today's video, I have a guest and I'm going to let her introduce herself and her tea.
So my name is Jamesa Stokes. For those of y'all who don't know, Letitia and I went to grad school together at the Pennsylvania State University, but I graduated last December with my PhD in material science and engineering.
Woo, woo.
And I'm currently a materials research engineer at NASA's Glenn Research Center in Cleveland, Ohio.
Y'all, I just want to let y'all know that she is making real money. She is in her adult retirement job.
Hold on. Okay. We're going to say, yes, it's adult money, but it's government. Going to leave it at that.
Oh, okay.
It's definitely not as high as industry money for sure. The thing that I've been doing lately, because it's been really hot outside, is the Egyptian licorice. So the main part is licorice, but it's a mix of licorice, cinnamon root, ginger root, and a few other things in there. It's actually really tasty, so don't judge me. Yeah, so actually licorice tea, one of the things I've been doing lately, so I brew a lot of ginger tea and teas that are really good for your immune system. And then once COVID hit, I've been starting looking for other teas and herbs that have been known to boost your immune system, be antimicrobial, all that stuff. And one of the things that came up is licorice tea, which can be anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, but in addition to that, it's similar to chamomile tea, is that it's supposed to be very soothing and very relaxing, something for you to just enjoy. And one of my favorite things to do with tea recently has been to brew them, but then make them cold. So either cold brew or brew them hot and then cool them down for a long time with the tea bag in. And so that's why I had it in a glass with ice, because especially if it's really warm out, it's really great to have it when it's cold.
Nice, a healthy tea. So spend a little bit of time on Fulbright for a second, just for those who have never heard of it, or who kind of heard of it and don't have a complete understanding of it. Even myself.
Yes, so the J. William Fulbright program is through the Department of State, and this program has partnered with, I believe, over 200 countries, to do exchanges. So not only do US students go there on this program, but foreign students come to the US on this program. There's different categories of the program. So what I did, and what is the most popular and what is the most developed, is the Fulbright student program. And what this means is that any student at any level can do the program as long as you don't have a terminal degree. And a terminal degree is a PhD, a MD, a JD, a professional degree of higher education, that sort of thing. Most students, that is true, most students try and do it. The other minimum requirements that you have to have a bachelor's degree. So most students, like myself, we apply during our senior year the application deadline is fall of, for me, it was like the fall of my senior year, because I wanted to be able to do it when I finished my bachelor's degree. So I'll finish talking about the student program and I'll get into the other categories. So you as a PhD student, you could still technically do it right now, the student program. Like there's nothing stopping you from doing it right now. It's a little bit harder. So I had a couple friends from my year who were doing it while they were doing their PhD. Of course, it's a little bit harder in the sense that if you already have PhD research that you're focused on, it's a little bit harder for you to then find an institution abroad in a country that resonates with you that you want to go to, and an institution in that country that does the research that you want to do. So that's something that if you're already into a graduate program, that's something you have to think about. For me, leaving my bachelor's degree, it was just like, I knew I wanted to go back to Germany because I had been there before. I'd done exchange semester during undergrad. It was just a matter of finding an institution that had materials research that I was interested in that would connect with what I wanted to do in the future, which was materials for aerospace applications. So going back onto the application process for the student program, you do a very short personal statement. It's only a page long, your story, tell what inspired you to get into what you were studying, why this particular country resonates with you, not just because, oh, I want to go there. It's like, no, you have to have, when I was applying through Auburn, we had people through our scholarship office help us prepare our applications. And one of my professors, who I love so much, Dr. Paul Harris from Auburn, he was in the scholarship office. He also did a Fulbright to Germany. And he was like, okay, with your application, you have to tell a story. It's like, it has to be a comprehensive story from what you studied, what you want to study, why you're going to this country, and why you're doing this particular research in this country. Like, it has to be a comprehensive story from beginning to finish. You know, your academics have to be pretty good. And even then, it's a, I don't want to say it's a crapshoot, but it's like, it's up to once your application makes it through the US screening process. So there's a two-step process. There's a US side where they screen applicants from the US side. And then once they screen those, they send them to the membership country through which applicants are applying. And then the final decision is through the Fulbright Commission in that country to decide which US student is coming here. So I'll give you an example. One of my classmates from Auburn, who's one of the most brilliant people I'd ever met, like her, we had both made it through the US screening process. She was applying for one through Japan, I was applying through Germany. And I think she had gotten news through Japan that she didn't get picked. And at that point I was panicking because I'm like, oh my God, who wouldn't pick her? She has all these amazing extracurriculars. She has a 4.0. She's done all this research. She like does martial arts. I was like, okay, well, I'm not getting picked. That's just it. There's no way I can compete. And then I ended up getting picked for my project through the German screening side. It was one of the most stressful application processes of my life. Let's see, I submitted my application October of my senior year. When I learned that I got through the US screening, it was January. So that was 3 months already. And then when I finally learned from the German side that I'd been rewarded the scholarship, it was April. I remember the day because I had been checking my email every day constantly. And then finally this day in April, that particular day, I was on my work study and I said, you know what? I'm not gonna check my email today. I'm just gonna close the tab that I had on my computer, focus on the jobs that I had to do for my work study that day, and I'll be fine. So I was just working away. It was a little bit after lunch. And Dr. Harris, he calls my phone and he's like, have you checked your email today? And I'm like, no. He's like, okay, well then check it and call me back. So I'm like, oh my God, what is happening? And then I checked my email and that's when I got the news that I had gotten the scholarship. And it was one of the happiest days of my life. I definitely didn't think I was the most talented student. I definitely had some self-doubts of my application that I was putting in. I I had some experience, but definitely not as much experience as I thought I should have had for this particular project that I was working on in Germany. But you know what? I ended up getting the scholarship. I ended up going there, making great colleagues who I still talk to this day. I still see at conferences. So overall, it was a fantastic experience, and I recommend any and everyone to apply for this scholarship because it's like there's nothing else like it. It's an experience that you can't recreate, I don't think, at any other point in your life, because you make all these friends who are there for the same reason you are. So, and the nice thing is that Germany is one of the most popular countries to do a Fulbright, and I think it's one of the ones with like the longest standing partnership in the program. So I think my year we had about 200 people go to Germany on the US student part of the program. So that's the student category, which most people do it right after their bachelor's degree. Say if you've hit a terminal degree, but you still want to do a program within Fulbright, there's a couple different options you have. There's the US Scholar Program. All the other ones, they're not as long as the US student, so you won't be there for a year. Some of the people that I met through Penn State, the Central Pennsylvania Fulbright Association, their Fulbrights, they would say they usually be like a couple weeks at a time. A couple of them we could do like a couple months at a time, but it really depended on the funding and what they were working on. I recommend going to the Fulbright website to really look in depth into all the different programs you can do through the scholarship. But I will say it's not just for undergraduates. It's definitely for everyone, not depending on wherever you are in your educational journey. It's just different programs offer different things depending on where you are. So.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. So I still have time.
Yes, you do. I mean, and even after you get your degree, you still have time. It just depends on, like I said, the stipulations for each program. I would say if you could get it in while you're still a student and you don't have a terminal degree, it's fantastic because you get to go there for a full year.
Oh, there's benefits. It reminds me of when you were like describing how it's 200 students that go with the same mindset. It reminded me of how I did people to people. I don't know, have you heard of people?
I wanted to do that in high school, but I didn't get it. I did a different program, but continue.
Well, yeah, it reminded me of how when I did people to people, and though it wasn't 200 students, it might have been maybe 15 of us. We would get together monthly and like discuss. I went to England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. And so we would get together monthly to discuss what is the culture like over there, and, you know, how to do the conversion of the money. Those kind of experiences, like those immersive experiences, you can't get those through staying here, right?
Absolutely. And to like touch on what you were saying about having those people with like-minded goals as you going to this one place, it's like, it's nice to start because for the most part, a lot of my friends who were on my Fulbright year, they hadn't been to Germany before. I had been before because like I said, I did an exchange semester. So it's nice to sort of have that initial group where you're all there sort of bumbling around trying to figure things out. But then eventually everyone goes to their respective cities to start whatever project or teaching that they're there to do. Like, I don't think so my Fulbright was in Stuttgart. In Stuttgart proper, there wasn't another Fulbrighter, US Fulbrighter there. I had a couple friends who were in the small towns surrounding Stuttgart, but I was the only one in Stuttgart. And so, like, sure, you have friends close by, but then at some point you have to learn how to, you know, live almost alone, like make other friends where you are. And Now, of course, we always travel to visit each other, because if you're in another country and you're not traveling, what are you doing?
Yeah. And I also want to emphasize something else that you said. You did not feel like your application was the best. You didn't
Right.
feel like you were 100% qualified. You didn't feel like you had your doubts and you still submitted your application
Yeah.
and you still got the Fulbright experience.
Yeah.
So, for those listening and watching, don't limit yourself. Don't hold yourself back. If you got something you want to do, try it. Literally, the worst thing that can happen is that you are told no. And that's not the worst thing that can happen.
Absolutely. Like, of course, I would have been very sad if I didn't get the scholarship. But I totally agree with what you're saying. Like, I tell myself all the time, the worst thing that could happen is someone saying no, or I didn't get something. Like, but you never know unless you submit the application. And I was very fortunate to have the scholarship. There's usually a scholarship office at every university that helps you through these things. The scholarship office through Auburn was very helpful in terms of there were people there who had Fulbrights and who had helped other people apply for very prestigious scholarships like the Fulbright. So there were people there who could help you craft your story and who help you realize what you want your story to be and how to express that in the application process. Like, no one goes through any of this alone. Absolutely not. That would be crazy. Yeah, so I got help in places that I could, but they didn't do the work for me. Like, they would give me suggestions here and there, but they were like, okay, go off and do your thing. Once you correct it, you give it back to me. I will give you maybe like 1 or 2 words of what you could do differently here or there, but they're not going to write your application for you. So yeah, it's like, it was hard work, like I said, but it was definitely worth it.
Yes.
I almost thought I wouldn't graduate on time, because by the time I was able to take my junior and senior year physics classes, there's one class you can only take in the spring and one class that you can only take in the fall, but you have to take them in reverse order because one follows the other. And I was like, oh my God, I had to go to my department and be like, listen, I know I should have taken this class first, but I'm graduating. And actually the class that I needed to take, most of what I learned in that class, I had learned through one of my internships already. So I was like, hey, this is my internship. This is what I did. I've already gained all these skills I would have learned from this class. I'll still take the class, but please let me take these in reverse order so I can graduate on time and do my Fulbright scholarship. And they let me.
I had a similar situation in undergrad. I can't remember what the courses were, but I was too taking them out of order. And because I had done internships and the research that I was working on touched on both of the courses, they were like, well, honestly, I guess it doesn't matter which one you're taking now or the other, because you have information from both of the courses just through your experiences.
Yep.
And that made me think about you have to be your own advocate. Do you have any other tips or tricks, information you would like to share?
I guess I'll just end by saying that, like I said before, I did not have what I think is a traditional STEM course. Is like a person freshman year, they started out as a STEM major. They knew what they wanted to do from beginning to end. They've had like co-op internship experiences from the beginning. Like, they're on like a at school, like nothing is a problem. Like, it's okay to slow down and figure out what you need to do for yourself or what path you want to take. I took a semester off in undergrad where at the time I didn't know where I was going to go to school. I didn't know what I wanted to study. But by the end of that semester, I had a goal. I was like, I knew I needed to be back in school by the end of that semester, and I needed to have something to study and some path I wanted to go on. So it's okay to take time to figure out what you want to do. And it's okay from that point to, if you still haven't decided what you want to do, it's okay to take on different experiences, to learn different things, because in the long run, I feel like all these experiences where for most people, they'll see my experience and don't necessarily see how all these different things link up. But in the long run, I feel like all these things have helped me to become the scientist and engineer that I am today, even my artistic experience and my artistic background. So I would definitely say don't be afraid to try new things, but don't be afraid to try new things, and from there, use these new experiences to work on your long-term goals.
Yes. If you found this video interesting, don't forget to click the like button on this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this with someone else who it may be of interest to. I have another video where I've talked with Lanisha, and she talks about how she has an artistic mindset when it comes to how she does her science. So if you enjoy the arts and you feel like going into science means you're going to have to give up your enjoyment of the art, you now have 2 examples of what you do not have to do. So you can continue your love of art as a scientist. I'll link that video either here or over there. Somewhere on this screen, there'll be a video. Go check it out.